Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Captain's Hour on Transport Tycoon Radio, featuring the best of music I can think of off the top of my head and taking user suggestions for music from our listeners. The last song we heard was Tour de Force by Dizzy Gillespie, our entry theme for every Captain's Hour. You can submit music suggestions if you like by flooding my DMs with a direct YouTube link to a song you'd like to listen to. Please make sure your song doesn't have an intro to it, and I'll be more than happy to play it, maybe, if it doesn't make me want to commit suicide. Like rock, for example, or heavy metal. Don't do that. Don't suggest heavy metal. Anyway, moving on with the program, the next song that we'll be hearing tonight is Those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines. Please make sure your music bot is lowered to 15 or 10%. Yeah, lower it. You gotta lower it.
Those magnificent men in their flying machine, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. They enchant all the ladies and steal all the scenes with their up to the up, and then down to the down. Up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground. They're all rightfully keen, those magnificent men in their flying machines. They can fly upside down with their feet in the air. They don't think of danger, they really don't care. Newton would think he had made a mistake to see those young men and the chances they take. Those magnificent men in their flying machines, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. They enchant all the ladies and steal all the scenes with their up to the up, and their down to the down. Up, down, flying around, looping the loop and defying the ground. They're all frightfully keen, those magnificent men in their flying machine. Those magnificent men in their flying machine, they go up to the up, they go down to the down. Those magnificent men, those magnificent men, those magnificent men in their flying machine.
Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight to Transport Tycoon Radio, featuring now Captain's Hour, starting every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That last song we heard was Those Magnificent Men in Their Flying Machines. Moving on with our program, the next song suggestion for the night is by Narwhal. This is Pure Imagination by Willy Wonka. This is a trap remix, but it's actually pretty decent. Take a listen.
We are the music makers, and we are the dreamers of dreams.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in to Captain's Hour on Transport Tycoon Radio every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And the last song we heard was a song suggestion by Narwhal. It was Pure Imagination Trap Remix by Willy Wonka. Coming up next on the program, some ethnic music suggested tonight by Ronjo. This is Soy Guajiro by Willie Chirino.
Yo soy de un pueblo pequeño al sur del Cañaveral. Aquel que quiera le enseño mi corazón de coral. Entre la iglesia y el cura, entre el sinsonte y el gallo, entre pinar y herradura, yo siempre andaba a caballo. Soy guajiro, wow, wow. Soy guajiro, yo sí que soy. Soy guajiro, soy guajiro, soy guajiro. La guardarraya me saca todos los días a pasear, tomando leche de vaca acabada de ordeñar. Oh, sí. Entre el parque y la glorieta, entre el palmar y el bohío, entre el buey y la carreta, yo me bañaba en el río. Soy guajiro, oh, oh. Soy guajiro, dilo otra vez. Soy guajiro, ay. Soy guajiro, soy guajiro. Mi cuerpo huele a tabaco y mi alma sabe a café. Y mi bolsillo es tan flaco que de perfil no se ve. Entre el zum zum y el jilguero, el muerto y la funeraria, fiestando el 2 de febrero, el día de la Candelaria. Soy guajiro, oh, oh. Soy guajiro, para que cante mi coro. Soy guajiro, dilo otra vez. Soy guajiro, ¿cómo fue? Soy guajiro. ¡Ja! Alabado sea Santísimo. ¡Condenado! Soy guajiro, en la campiña me inspiro. Soy guajiro, oh, ponte el collar Clodomiro. Soy guajiro, yo toco tres, yo toco maraca y güiro. Soy guajiro, ¡ay!
Thanks everyone for tuning in tonight to Captain's Hour on Transport Tycoon Radio, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every night. The last song we heard was a song request by Ronjo. It was Soy Guajiro by Willie Chirino. Pardon my French or Spanish. Hue, hue, hue. Coming up next on the program, a song request from Wolfen. This is Slice of Heaven by Dave Dobbin.
Hey, I got a kid, that's the bottom line. Yeah, you have a lot of fun, don't you? And living with you is a ball of a time. Hey, beauty, when the mood gets you down, you bottomless fear dragging on the ground. That's when I gotta play the clown for you. Black humor, baby, you kick your boots. Howdy, angel. Where did you hide your wings? Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Hey, 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 heaven. Hey, I got a lot of faith in you. I'll stick with you, kid, that's the bottom line. Yeah, we have a lot of fun, don't we? And heaven has to be with you all the time. Hey, beauty, when the mood gets you down, you're bottomless, fear dragging on the ground. That's when I gotta play the clown for you. Black humor, baby, kick my blues. Howdy, angel. Where did you hide your wings? Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Howdy, angel. Where did you hide your wings? Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Her love shines over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven. Yeah. Warm moonlight over my horizon. She's a slice of heaven.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning into Captain's Hour here on Transport Tycoon Radio, starting every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, featuring the best of music that I can think of off the top of my head, including some user suggestions from our listeners. The last song we heard was suggested by Wolfen. It was Slice of Heaven by Dave Dobbin. You can find the Captain's Hour chat channel just a few channels above this one. This is where you can chat with other members that are currently listening about the song playing, about songs you want requested, anything you want, really. But this is where you'll do the chat. Keep it out of general, keep it clean, of course. Coming up next on the program, a song suggested by JDM. This is Summer by Vanilla. Narwhal, can you respond to that admin ticket, please?
I don't even see him on it.
Thanks everyone for listening tonight to our broadcast here on Transport Tycoon Radio. Now it's Captain's Hour, starting every night at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That last song we heard was a song request by JDM. It was Summer by Vanilla. Coming up next on the broadcast, a bit of a genre changed. We don't do classical very much. It's pretty rare. We try and stick to some mainstream stuff. But I was just remembering today how cool this song is that we're about to play. And it's great exposure to how music in the classical world can actually be really interesting and well thought out. So here is Jupiter from the Planet Suite, Opus 32 by Gustav Holst. Thanks for tuning in to Captain's Hour tonight on Transport Tycoon. Every night, starting at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That last song we heard was Jupiter from the Planet Suite, Opus 32 by Gustav Holst. It's about halfway through the hour now. It is 10:36 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, which means it's like I don't even know what time it is in New Zealand, but it's really, really early. So, yeah, I think everyone else here is from the United States. So, trying to get our Kiwi friend into the program, trying to make him feel welcome. Doing my best. Moving on with a small segment that I like to do. This is story time on Captain's Hour. Just to let everyone know what my life has happened. Today was my last day working at public supermarkets. Ripperoni. But it's okay because I bought $4,000 worth of stock. So hopefully when I'm a millionaire in 40 years, I will remember you all and you all can get a little piece of that pie. So make sure you're nice to me over the next 40 years or so. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. One of the interesting things I did have to deal with today, though, was cleaning up pee-pee from a small child. I was walking down one of the aisles, and some man was like, "Excuse me, sir." And I was like, "Yes, sir. What's going on?" He's like, "My child had a little bit of an accident." I was like, "What do you mean a little accident?" And he was like, he needed to go to the bathroom." And I looked down, and there's a little yellow puddle. And I was like, "Oh, shit." But I didn't say it out loud because that's not professional. I said, "Oh, man," out loud. And I told him I could clean it up for him. So I remembered my training that I've had semi-annually for the last 9 years that said, "You are not allowed to handle bodily fluids. You must go see a manager." So I said, "Hold on, sir. I'm going to go talk to my manager and see if we can go clean this up." He said, "No problem." And I handed him a roll of paper towel so that he could at least clean a little bit of it up. So I went to my manager and I was like, "Excuse me, Mrs. Manager. If I recall correctly from our corporate training, it states that I'm not allowed to handle any sort of bodily fluids. Managers are specifically trained to do this." She's like, "Well, what's the situation?" I'm like, "Well, a small child had a little accident." And she was like, "What kind of accident?" I was like, "He peed his pants." So she's like, "Oh, you can go clean that up. Go get a mop from the mop room and just mop it up." And I was like, so I did it. I went to the back of the store, got a mop, went to the child that is covered in his own piss, and I basically threw the mop on his face and cleaned out his pants and his underwear and whatever. Not really. I didn't do that. I just mopped up the floor and put a caution cone there. And then I threw out that mop because that would be nasty if I left it on the rack. So that happened today. This has been Story Time on Captain's Hour.